Today, I wanted to talk about confidence because I believe, anyways, you can take it or leave a lot of misinformation about confidence. And I think what happened was I heard a story about a coach going around asking the players how confident did they play, how confident do they feel? And many of them said, 8, 9 out of 10. And one kid apparently said a 4 out of 10. And then apparently this coach said, well, I need to be more confident. And I'm thinking, okay, that's fine. And if you want that player to be more confident, what are you going to do? How are you going to help them out? So, this is really, really important. And it goes to a lot of the foundation, something that I wish I actually had when I was younger. But now I know different. Anyways, what we say the four levels of competence. That's right. And that can be with any skill in any field. And I think it's something that when we're first learning, either as an individual, as an adult, or even if you're working with children in sports, doesn't matter what they do, we must understand the four levels of competence. And I'm just going to briefly break them down for you. And I'm sure some of you who are deciding to watch this are probably familiar with this. But my experience in close to 30 years working with athletes from all ranges, from grassroots up to Olympic level, is I do believe this is something that is missing, something that is not taught, and something that is totally misunderstood. So what's the first level? The first level is being consciously incompetent. That's when you kind of look at something and you go, wow, that looks really easy. So you go and you attempt it, and next thing you know, you fall flat on your face. Whether you're learning to do a flip in gymnastic, putting on skates and skating, those are skills. And when you realize that you do not have that skill, you are now consciously incompetent. And this is a really important stage, especially for young children who are learning a new sport, learning a new skill. And this is where it's so important that if you are a coach or a parent, to understand that it's okay and it's all right because it's part of the process for them to make that mistake and realize they actually need assistance in order to get them to that next level. No different than any other skill that you learning. That is a critical time in any athlete's development to understand it's okay to make the mistake. They were taught something, they went out, they fell on their face, or they didn't do it quote unquote perfect. And then again, uh, perfect does not um, exist, so to speak. Maybe one plus one equals two. So now the next step is, depending on your age, what do you do? Do you get coaching or do you ask for help? Do you watch videos to figure out what it is you need to do to get to that next level? And when you do, you start to become what we say consciously competent. You know what you need to do, you need to follow the steps to get there. And you realize now from before that if you put on skates, you can go out and you can skate. That's awesome. Or you can do a flip, no issue. Or you can dribble a ball, whatever it is. Or in tennis, you're increasing or doing better with your return. It does not matter what the sport or the skill is. You now have an awareness that you have to think a little bit about it and you can move forward. Then the next step is being unconsciously competent, where you can do the skill on demand. There is no thought. You can just do it. And where does this come from? This comes from practice, 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 practice. And every time you practice, you get a little better, you make less mistakes. And as you are going through the ranks of levels and years of experience, that becomes a much smaller thing to attain. And it also becomes a little bit more challenging or difficult. The key thing is you need to, or if you're working, it is a continuous, ongoing process. It never stops, regardless if you're working with athletes, regardless if you're doing this within your own work, because learning is continuous. And in order to improve and be better than the day before, you need to take the steps to get there. It's almost like you're walking up a ladder. You get to one step, okay, feel good. Now you're going to the next step, feel even better. And you keep on going until something happens and maybe you're all the way back down again. And because of the previous experience that you had, you know now, not just in your head, but you can feel it. You know, okay, I need to take these steps to be better. Or if you're working with an athlete, you understand, okay, maybe they're moving from a younger team to an older team and they're the youngest. Well, that's a totally new environment, a totally new experience for them. And maybe the first couple of times they play, they fall flat on their face, but that's okay because they're in a new situation. They're in a new environment and they learn and they grow. And the key thing I highly stress, if you're a parent or a coach, working with younger athletes, teenagers, give them the space to make the mistakes. Give them the positive reinforcement that it's okay to make the mistakes and to learn, to get up every time they fall. That is okay. And make sure you know what the expectations are and work to that at a pace that works for you, for them. It is so, so important to understand that one, there's no such thing as failure unless you quit. Two, each individual is an individual and they will climb that ladder of being able to be competent in something at their own pace. Because one of the worst things I can do if I'm working with somebody, or you can do, or as an athlete, is to truly compare to somebody else. Because in life, in reality, some people are going to be above you, some people are going to be with you, and some people are going to be below you. That is a reality. So remember, anytime as a parent or as a coach and you are working with athletes, remember they need to go through those four levels of competence to get that confidence. So just asking a child to be more confident is probably one of the worst things you can do unless you explain to them what they will go through to get there. That is so, so important because every child, every athlete, and I don't care what your age is, needs to understand that process because that builds foundation and it's coming from the inside out. Follow the process, follow the process, follow the process. Because just wishing it is not going to make it happen. You need to go through those four steps in order to get to that level. I'm Michael Wolf Grafstein, and I am now signing off from Self Empowered Athlete Coaching. Bye for now and have a great rest of your day.